All right, so let's get started, everyone. Thank you very much for joining our webinar today. We are talking about how AI can make your PR more human. It's obviously a bit of a counterintuitive topic. Most people would likely think, well, AI makes it less human. It makes it more robotic or automated, but there's actually many reasons why AI makes PR and communications more human, and excited to dive into it. Just before we dive in, want to get us started with a quick poll, just to get your thoughts on some of the common concerns about AI. So we have a poll here. What is your biggest concern about using AI in PR? Is it the loss of human touch? Is it data privacy issues? Is it AI bias and ethical concerns? Or the accuracy of AI generated content? Or job displacement fears? Would love to just get the audience feedback here, and we'll leave the poll open for another minute, and then we'll share the results with you. I think that all of these have validity. We're going to get into a lot of these in the webinar itself. I have a lot of thoughts myself as well, as a person who has been in PR and comms my whole career, started an agency, and now created a AI software for PR and comms. But yeah, let's just give a few more seconds to folks to fill out the poll, and then we'll share the results in just a few seconds. And we've got Greta from Los Angeles. Welcome, Greta. Good to see you. So we've got the poll results here. I think everyone can see it on your screens. So the number one reason was the accuracy of AI-generated content. Wow, very interesting. And the second biggest concern here was the loss of human touch. Now, the accuracy got about 54% of the vote. Loss of human touch got 46%. So interesting. I guess people can vote for multiple, and that's why these add up to more than 100, but we can also see data privacy, only 15%, AI bias and ethical concerns, only 15%, job displacement fears, only 15% as well. My initial take on this, very encouraging, because the accuracy is actually something that companies like Propel, like OpenAI, have the ability to continue to improve. And so that will just keep getting better and better. Some of these other things might have been more intractable. And so it's nice to see that the biggest fear was around the one thing that is actually most in our control, as AI providers and sort of the wider AI community. So let's move forward. Thanks everyone for filling out the poll. And again, I just want to introduce the topic of today's webinar for all who just joined. We are going to explore the intersection of artificial intelligence and public relations. We're going to talk about how AI can actually make PR and comms more human, which is very counterintuitive, but is very true. And we're in a world where the AI landscape is rapidly progressing. Things are moving faster than we can even hardly keep up, although at Propel, we are very much on top of things and ahead of things and the top innovator in AI. And that brings me to the next slide, which is just a very brief introduction of myself and Propel. So my name is Zach Cutler. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Propel. And like I said earlier, for those who joined right at 6 or 11 Eastern, I spent my entire career in public relations. So I started my career at Ogilvy, was a media relations guy, loved it, and then started my own agency after doing freelance work. And that was in 2009. built it up into a mid-size agency. We were focused on media relations. We were about 15 people. And I became frustrated by the lack of better technology for our industry. I wanted better workflow. I wanted better data and insights and just a much more efficient workflow and technology that could help us have our PR activities be data-driven and super effective. And there was nothing on the market. We tried all the legacy PR software, which was just media database and media monitoring, and they still are. And we tried all of the CRMs on the market, like Salesforce and HubSpot, to see if it could help us with the workflow. Not at all. We had to bend over backwards just to try to make it work, and ended up putting in even more effort than it would have been to just stay in spreadsheets and keep working the way that we were. And so I got the idea to create the first CRM for public relations, and we call it PRM, Public Relations Management. We launched the first ever PRM about 5 years ago, and now we have hundreds of agencies and brands that rely on us to help them work smarter and get better data, better insights, much better workflow. And we've actually built the most advanced AI in the public relations industry. We're a very agile startup, and we're able to move quickly and be creative and be very innovative. And we have some awesome things that we're going to show you and that we're going to talk about. So our agenda for today's webinar, we're going to talk about a few different things. So first, we're going to get into the evolution of AI in PR. And then we're going to talk a bit about personalization. Then we're going to get into ethical considerations. And then we're going to talk about some real life examples of AI enhancing PR efforts. And then we're going to do a quick demo of Propel 2.0, which we're excited to launch. And you guys will be the first to see a lot of these new features that we have launched. We're really happy to have about 100 registrants joining this webinar from all over the world, US, UK, Europe, and other countries as well. So again, welcome everyone. And Propel, as I mentioned, is at the forefront of innovation in our industry. And because we actually come from the industry, we've tailor-built our solution to solve all of those little things that used to bother me and my agency, and I'm sure that bother a lot of us in the PR community. And so that's what Propel's all about, is making the lives of PR people better. So relevant to today's webinar, we're going to show, like I said, a glimpse of Propel 2.0, and we'll do that at the end of the webinar once we've gone through the actual meat and the topics that we want to cover today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the evolution of AI in our industry. So we got some questions before the webinar from the community, and I'm going to essentially address these questions throughout the course of the webinar. So the first question was, how has AI changed the landscape of PR over the last few years? And so this has been an absolutely remarkable change. I think everyone here pretty much knows that the world is rapidly changing with AI, and there's no industry that's, immune to the massive rapid changes. But what I will say is that our industry is actually at the very forefront of it. And why is that? Because our industry is all about the spoken and the written word. And the biggest breakthroughs and game changers in AI have been through the language models. So there's a lot of other types of AI models, from vision to biological models that are modeling DNA. Vision models are doing things like self-driving cars and other types of uses, both consumer, military, business. But language models have actually achieved the most success and innovation and advancement so far. And that's why it's really exciting to be in our industry at this moment, because there aren't that many industries that are entirely about language and writing and speaking. You've got PR and comms, you've got journalism. I'm sure there are a few others that are, extremely impacted, um, authoring and other things like that. But we're really, truly one of the industries that has the most opportunity here to have a revolution. And so we're seeing some really cool things. So if we look like a few years ago, I would say that the main AI in PR was around basic parts of monitoring. So, for example, like sentiment analysis, but I think we all know and have been frustrated by the quality of sentiment analysis in the past. And so I would say that it was pretty mediocre. If we look at today, we're actually seeing AI take on really sophisticated use cases. So, one of the most exciting ones is matching. So, you're able to put in, for example, a pitch or a press release or a description or keywords, really whatever you want, into a prompt, and AI can now build a media list and find the right journalists out of hundreds of thousands of journalists. It can find the right 10 or 20 or 50. And that's exactly what the AI powered database in Propel does. And so I remember at my agency, let's say we were doing a story about AI software for PR. We would have to do searches in the media database for AI journalists. And then we'd have to do another search in some legacy media database for PR journalists. And then we'd have to do another search for marketing journalists, maybe another for tech journalists. And I'm sure we all remember that the categories that they have in legacy databases are pretty limited. You can't just put anything. Not anything will return a result. So essentially, it was limited, it was cumbersome, it required a lot of searches, and it wasn't so pinpointed at all. Now you literally can put in the most specific possible thing that you could think of. I remember one of our customers recently was asking us to help them find potato yield journalists, meaning that their client was some kind of agricultural technology company that was increasing potato yield. And all they had to do was put in a sentence describing, agricultural innovation around potato yield, just simply that. Or, again, their full press release or pitch. And all of a sudden, we had 50 incredibly relevant journalists that were writing literally exactly about potato yields and, related topics. And so they were actually amazed. And I was actually kind of amazed myself because I had never thought even of potato yield in my life. And somehow in the database, they were able to get that. The other thing that AI is taking on these days in PR is relevance filtering. This is very exciting as well. So I'm sure a lot of you have struggled with monitoring results where most of the results are not relevant. If you have experienced this, please write the number 1 in the chat. I'm just curious to get a pulse on the community to see what, if you guys have experienced this pain point of sort of not getting relevant results when you set up a monitoring query, maybe getting articles that are completely, not relevant, not important, maybe not even related. So I see Camille has experienced that. Thank you, Camille, for sharing. And I also see we've got people from all over, from London to Oregon and Pennsylvania and California. So nice showing from across the world. But anyway, back to relevance filtering. Nowadays with AI, you can actually have a custom AI trained model for each brand. So if you're an agency, you can have one for each of your clients. If you're a brand, you can have one for your entire brand or for each product line or whatever. And essentially, what it can do is be trained on what is a relevant article for this brand and what is not. And it's trained in the same way that other AI models are trained. We give it examples, we give it some instructions, and boom, it starts learning and it keeps improving. And now you can go in and see that your relevance has improved dramatically because the AI model is doing a lot of that work of sifting out the garbage articles. The other amazing thing about relevance filtering is what you could call a crisis comms or media war room functionality. And we have this in Propel, where you can understand what is a quote problem article or detractor article, and what is a quote effective or promoter article for my brand. And just as I mentioned for relevance, you can train it on what is a problem article, what is an effective article. And now, when there's a crisis that comes, you can understand what are all of the articles being written about my brand that are problem articles for us, meaning the New York Times wrote an article and it like really called out our brand. It was bad for us. You know, the model will be able to identify all of the articles that are like that. And it will even take it a step further and help you create an AI generated tweet to call out those problem articles or promote those effective articles, and an AI generated email that you can send to the journalist of a problem article explaining why they got it wrong or offering them a briefing or just sharing the facts to try to, help adjust their opinion. Um, and so, yeah, these are the two use cases for relevance filtering. The other thing that I would like to touch on is that AI is completely changing the game for content generation for PR. And I think we all know that. That's sort of the more obvious one. But I'm talking press release generation, pitch generation, article generation, boilerplate generation, all kinds of things that are so time consuming. And doubters might say, well, the minute that AI starts doing the writing for me is the minute that AI became, or that PR became less human. But actually, I think it's the opposite. Because the minute that you can save 2 hours on writing your pitch or your press release, and you can actually have that time to make it more thoughtful, to do that human touch, that spark of human creativity, to think of a new angle, to think of a new relationship, or I just got a comment here from Bill. Yes, Bill, we will be recording this and we will be sending it to everyone after the webinar. But essentially, by giving the PR user a first draft, it saves them so much time that they can then do the more strategic parts, like being super thoughtful, super strategic about a certain message in that press release, or to having that extra time to dial up the journalist and give them a call and deepen that relationship with more of a human touch. And so that's point number one. Now, point number two is that in Propel, this is a very rare feature in the marketing ecosystem in general and doesn't exist in other PR technology, is that you can actually train the writer to write in your voice. And that can be your own personal voice as Zach Cutler, or it can be your company voice but essentially you give Propel an example of a pitch or a press release or an article you wrote before, and we immediately learn how to write in your voice. Now, I'll say that content generation with AI should always be looked at as a first draft, and you should always make it your final draft of your own and put in that human touch. And so that's content generation. The other use case for AI and PR these days is predictive analytics. And predictive analytics essentially is giving insights. So it's looking at, okay, my brand got 50% more mentions in August than in July, and it was correlated to a certain trend or something else that we did. Maybe we increased the amount of journalists we were pitching or the amount of sectors we were targeting or whatever. And it can pull out these insights from all of the data and actually give you valuable, actionable insights. So in Propel, for example, we're able to analyze when journalists opened and responded to emails. And that gives us the ability to present to all of you, users in the PR community and users of Propel, the best day and time to pitch each journalist. And this isn't based on public info that you can just grab from their Twitter, or, they didn't put some setting in their Twitter bio about, pitch me Wednesday morning. No, of course not. It's really very simple. Let's say Sarah at Forbes was pitched 381 times, and the majority of the time she is engaging on a certain day or a certain part of the day. Propel is able to extract from that that is a good time to pitch her, because we have other data that shows that most journalists respond within 1 hour of getting the pitch. So it's a lot of different data that it would be impossible to go through manually. And with a system like Propel, you're able to get that on the fly. And so that's predictive analytics. Obviously, sentiment analysis has gotten much better. And I think maybe the most exciting part of all is the personalization. I see a lot of people have been joining. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. I also want to mention that I'd like this to be a conversation. So as you have questions, as you have thoughts, please drop them into the chat, and I will do my best to incorporate them, weave them in. I don't want to just hear myself talking the whole time. I'd love to get questions. I'd love to get thoughts, and we can have a conversation. But back to what I was saying about personalization. This is a total game changer. So I think we would all pretty much agree, and if anyone disagrees, drop it in the chat, that a pitch that is personalized performs a hell of a lot better than a pitch that is generic. I mean, I'm talking an order of magnitude better. And the way that we always personalized, and a lot of our customers do, but the way that we always did at my agency, before I sold my agency and started Propel, was that we would research and read the latest article or multiple articles from the journalists that we were pitching. And we would then extract a certain nugget or insight from one of the articles. And at the top of our pitch, we would write, hi, Sarah, read your article about Elon Musk launching the new Cybertruck and thought that your analysis of the velocity of the engine was spot on and compares well to XYZ. Very detailed, thoughtful nugget that showed Sarah that you actually read her article and that she appreciated that, and therefore would, take your pitch more seriously and more likely respond. Do people agree with that? That personalizing pitches makes a massive difference in the response rate that you get from journalists? If you do, just drop it in the chat. I'd love to get some comments from the audience here. I see some thumbs up coming in. Yeah, Greta says absolutely. Jordan says yes. See several more thumbs up coming in. So yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. Hard to deny. And so the beauty of AI in PR is that you can now have personalized pitches saving 99% of the time. Because in a product like Propel, we have a massive article database. We partner with LexisNexis, and they have the biggest article database in the world. And so we have every article from every journalist practically. And so in a very simple way, we're able to say, okay, Zach, a user at Propel, wants to pitch Sarah at Forbes. Well, what we're going to offer Zach is a 1 to 2 sentence personalized intro that he can put at the top of his pitch to Sarah. And better than that, we're going to allow Zach to actually say that he wants to pitch 20 journalists. And we're going to allow him to just click a button. And now we're going to create those 20 drafts for him. And each draft will have that personalized intro. So instead of taking 5 to 10 to 20 minutes for each of the journalists to read their article and get that nugget, Propel just did it for you in a matter of seconds. And this is a game changer. So yeah, I see a lot more comments here about people believing in personalization. Greta said that that's amazing. Well, thank you, Greta. Yes, it was a very complex capability to build. I'll be honest, it took a lot of creativity and time and patience, and it's just I honestly wish that I had it when I had my agency, because what we're hearing from customers is that it's just a total game changer for them, and that it's increasing their response rate by up to 3 times. So essentially, weaving back to the topic of the slide, these are the ways that AI is now impacting PR. So we went from just very mediocre sentiment analysis in the past to some incredible game-changing ways that it's changing not only the workflow and the efficiency, but also the insights that PR pros and comms professionals are getting. And it's an exciting time. It's a very exciting time, I will say. And so what I always encourage the PR community and people that reach out to us is that, be adaptable. So try things, believe in, giving it a shot, even if it might be a little scary that, is it going to make me sound robotic? Is it going to make me look bad? Is it going to replace my job? I don't believe any of these concerns are really there. And I got a comment that the audience is seeing the first slide. So I'm showing the evolution of AI and PR slide. I hope that that is what the audience is seeing. If you guys could just drop in the comments, is that the slide that you are seeing? Okay, perfect. So we're good to go. Let's move on. The next thing that I want to address is a little more detailed take on personalization. So one thing that I'll reference is that if we look at a journalist that maybe, I don't know, doesn't have an article in the Propel database, how does that work? Does it just leave it blank? Or, what happens in that case? So we've built all kinds of backup sort of processes that will address that. So for example, if a journalist didn't write an article recently and there's not a nugget that we can pull from an article, there's other things that we can pull from. We can pull from the general topics that they cover from, sort of their past archive of articles. We can also pull from certain insights that we can see on social. And so there's a lot of different ways that we can get that nugget. The key is to get that nugget. And when you can have an AI tool doing that, it really, really makes all the difference, because now it didn't make your pitch less human. It actually made your pitch way more human, because now you can have those 20 pitches and you can go through really strategically. And because you saved all of those hours from having to read all the articles on each journalist, you can just do the tasks and activities that truly deepen the relationship, go and add them on LinkedIn, send them a message, give them a call, wish them a happy birthday, whatever it is. Or even, you saved a few hours that week, you go to an event and you meet some journalists there. So I think that this is truly the holy grail of AI and PR, is the tremendous power that it has unlocked in terms of personalization. All right. So we've talked a lot about the positive. Well, not everything is, shiny and bright, right? So what are the ethical considerations? What are some of the risks here? So data privacy is number one, right? So not everyone wants their content or certain prompts, going into a certain AI tool that would then, have that content for potentially training their model or whatever it is. And this was a very big concern over the last year and a half or so. I will say that the large language models have gotten very sensitive to this concern. And also a lot of companies like Propel are taking extraordinary measures around this. And I will say that a third point is that there's many opportunities to completely avoid sending any content to a company like OpenAI or whatever. And that's through the advancement of local LLMs. So many of the most advanced models have made themselves available for local, which just means it's not in the cloud. It's like, local to the company's server or whatnot. And so data privacy, it's a valid concern. It's certainly there, but there's a lot of ways around this. And I think companies are being sensitive. Propel for sure has put a lot of thought into this, and a lot of other AI companies at the forefront are doing that as well. But just always be careful, always read the terms and conditions. If you have, a big corporation, have legal take a look, just, check off the boxes, make sure that you're comfortable with what the AI vendor is going to do with your data and your content. So that's number one. Another potential ethical consideration is the biases in the models. So, who are the people that are actually running these models? They're human beings, and they have opinions, they have political views, they have religious views, they have all kinds of views. And it would not be human if these models would not have some kind of bias, even if it's very slight. And so I believe, just like a news source, you would never want to get all of your news from one source. The owner of a news network or a newspaper or a news site is not an angel. They're there to make money. It's a business. They want clicks, and they have views. Maybe they have certain passions and interests politically, issues wise, whatever it is. And that's why a thoughtful person would get their news from multiple sources. And it's no different with AI. I wouldn't bet, the whole kit and caboodle on one model. I would, try this model and try that model. And, like maybe you get some of your value from this and some of your value from that. Maybe you've done all the testing and you truly love, a certain model and you only use them, and that's totally fine. For me personally, I use ChatGPT every day, probably 30 to 100 times a day. Uh, I used to use Google search a lot. It's dramatically down. I think ChatGPT gives me better results for most things I need. And I use it for all kinds of things. I've gotten into cooking in the last year. I use it for recipes. I use it for all kinds of things, advice, business advice, personal advice, research, travel itineraries. Um, I want to find a jazz club in a certain city. I use it for so many things. But other models do other things way better. Perplexity can be better at real-time searches and comparisons. I was creating some art for my new home, and I wanted to create some art with AI. So I was using ChatGPT, which uses the Dolly model. Has anyone here used Dolly? Just put the number 2 in the chat if you have. So I was using Dolly. Um, that's DALLE. And I showed it to a friend of mine, and he said, Midjourney is much better. And I had never tried Midjourney, so I tried it, and I was blown away. And now I have been using Midjourney for that, and it's way better than ChatGPT for image generation. And there's other models that are way better with other things. So just like with anything in life, try different ones and don't bet everything on one. And that really does address the biases issue, because you don't have to trust just one model for everything. So one question that we also got from the community is that, well, we've got these ethical concerns. As a PR professional, how should we go about being responsible and really taking into account these concerns? Because we're busy, we have clients, we have stakeholders, like we don't have a million hours to look into this. So all I'll say is that the biggest thing is to establish clear guidelines on how AI should be used in your organization. So just take, one afternoon, bring together whoever on the team would make sense for this project, and decide, how are we going to use AI at our company? Are we okay with this? Are we okay with that? And establish those guidelines and then use those as a guidepost for whatever models or tools you come across and you consider using. And there's a lot of best practices. You can, do a search. You can see on Google or ChatGPT or other places, all the best practices and guidelines for this, in order to make sure that you're kind of being responsible as a company with your AI policies. So I'm going to move along to the next slide. And if anyone has any questions or thoughts, just drop them in the chat. We're getting towards the bottom third of the webinar here. So going to start moving a little more quickly because I want to leave time for the demo and for the questions. So the next question that we got from the community was, how has AI practically improved PR outcomes? So I would say that the biggest one we've heard from our customers is that the personalization of pitches has radically increased their response rate. And we've heard that it's literally 3x. Now, that's not for everyone, but there are users that have experienced that level of increase in engagement by doing personalized pitches. The other thing that's contributing to the increase in engagement is that actually pitching the right journalists. The legacy media databases are terrible with this. They build big lists. It could be 500 people, 250, 1,000. And usually the topics that that list covers are so broad. Instead of potato yield, like I was mentioning earlier, it might be agriculture, which is like 1,000 times more broad than potato yield. And so instead of getting like 1,000 journalists that write about agriculture and maybe like 20, have ever written about potato yield, by using an AI database, you get right to the 20 right away. And that's your list. And you're not spamming, 980. And that also creates better email deliverability for your company because Google is not, or Gmail or whoever your provider is not downgrading your spam score because of pitching irrelevant people who mark your email as spam. And then the other big way that it's improving outcomes is through the insights. So, understanding the exact day and time that I should pitch this journalist based on their last engagement and other things like that. So that brings me to the next part of the demo, which is going to be a very quick look at Propel. I talked about most of the functionality of Propel 2.0. So it's the AI-powered media database where you can put in a prompt, get a highly targeted list of journalists, and then have AI personalized intros to each of those journalists, which are created in our Gmail and our Outlook plugins, which are the only ones in the industry. And then it also includes a end-to-end project wizard. So you're able to create a project and it has a task list for each project, whether it's a media list building project or a content generating project or a pitching project. And it guides you very clearly through each one, because what I've heard from so many people in our industry is that getting started on a new software is just hell. It takes weeks. It's annoying. It's expensive. It takes your people's time. You have to have one onboarding session and then another and then another. And then, the people at the media database aren't very responsive and you're waiting and you have to do all these migrations of media lists and all of this nonsense. With Propel, you get ramped up in seconds. You can start your plan right from our site. So I'll pull up our website here real quick so you can see. We're very proud to be transparent about our pricing. So we're the only company in the industry that is completely transparent about our pricing, our packages. You see what you get and you can try it free before you buy. We believe in giving you the test drive because we're confident in our product. We have nothing to hide behind in terms of pricing or in terms of trying it. It's all out in the open, and that's what we believe in. And you can also purchase now and get started, and literally you're in your account within seconds. Okay, and once you're in, you put in your domain, and just based on your domain, we're already giving you recommended journalists and media lists within literally 10 seconds. And then we're also giving you a media alert that we set up automatically based on your domain. We use AI to do it. And we're giving you your latest mentions and reports on coverage within seconds. So we want to make it easy for you. We believe that in so many industries, technology has made it easier for the user and has given you time back in your day to do the parts of the job that you love and that are more strategic and important and enjoyable. And that's what Propel is all about. So I'm going to now just go into the product for a quick couple of minutes and give you a flavor of how Propel looks, how it works, and the UX, and just a couple of the major functionalities. And while I'm pulling that up, I'd love to see any questions that are coming up, because I've been doing all the talking more than I would like to, and I want to give the floor to our community and to the audience. So Greta is asking if we have influencers integrations. Good question, Greta. So our database is focused primarily on journalists. There are certain people in there that are freelancers who are influencers. And so you definitely will see that in Propel. But the focus overall is on the journalists and the media outlets. So Julia is asking if we can do a step-by-step on how these work in Propel. So yes, that's exactly what we're doing right now. Thank you, Julia. So you come into Propel, you click on Discover, and this is our AI database. So let's say that we want to do a search on the famous potato yields that I've been talking about all day here. So potato yields improved by new agriculture technology. And let's see what it gives us. So your prompt can be a simple sentence like this. It can also be a full pitch or press release that you drop into the prompt field. Okay? So we're going to click search. We're looking through hundreds of thousands of journalists. We're pulling the most relevant, and we specifically top it at 200. We'd never want to build a list that's more than 200 because we are trying to kill spray and pray PR. We don't believe in it. It's not good. It's not healthy. And Propel is all about giving you a targeted, specific media list. It's the exact opposite of the legacy media databases. Okay, so you come in here, you see that we're looking at Kelly. She writes about livestock management, agricultural tech, and innovation. Boom. Okay, we've got Tudor at Potato Processing International, writing about food and agriculture. Michela at No-Till Farmer. She's writing about agriculture technology and innovations. Bada bing, bada boom, crop productivity. We've got Ryan at AgriView, writing about farming technology and crop production. Rebecca at Vertical Farm Daily. And I could go on, but you get the point. These are super relevant journalists. And so that is our media database. Okay. I want to show you the project screen. So here you come in, you've got all your projects. Okay, you're brand new to Propel, or you've been using Propel for a few months or a few years. Doesn't matter. You come in here, this is the easiest way to get things done. You can choose the kind of project you want. Is it an A to Z pitching project where we're going to do everything from the media list to the pitch draft, press release, send the pitches, personalize the pitches, monitoring, business outcomes, and status reports, and all of that? Or do we just want to create some content? Or do we just want to create a media list? Maybe we just want to do pitching. Maybe we just want to do monitoring. So you're able to choose what you want. Okay. We love potatoes over here, so we'll call it the potato yield project. And if anyone is anti-carb or on a carb diet, I apologize in advance. So we will tie this to whichever account we want. In this case, we'll just tie it to Propel. These could be your clients. You have an account for each client, or if you're a brand, you can have an account for each product line or division, or you can just have one account. Okay, now we're in our project and we have our task list. So we can write our pitch. So we'll go again with potato yields. Potato yields improvement through new ag tech product. All right, so now, oh, we need it to be a little longer, which gives more potatoes to farmers on a daily basis. Okay, and what I want to point out here is that you can actually use the Propel standard style, but like I mentioned, you can actually add a new voice, which allows you to train Propel to write in your own voice. As Zach Cutler, I can literally just paste in a pitch that I've previously written. That's all it takes. And within seconds, Propel can now write a pitch like I write a pitch. And you can have as many of these voices as you want throughout your company. I see some comments. Okay, I'll get to the comments in a minute, but let's just finish off the demo here. So we're going to click generate and bada bing, bada boom, there is our pitch. The beautiful thing about this is that unlike ChatGPT, which would give you a vanilla pitch, you can train this Propel pitch writer to write in your own voice. And equally importantly, the pitch length and the pitch style, the length of the subject, all of these things are optimized based on our data from our quarterly data report, the Propel Media Barometer, where we analyze millions of real PR pitches that have been sent by the whole Propel user base. And this is actually an optimized pitch structure that you're getting with this pitch writer. Okay, so now you've got your pitch. Okay, we're going to go back to our project checklist, and we're able to do similar for our press release, for our media list. And this is really where the magic happens. It's the personalized drafts. Okay, so you're going to click and it's going to create the personalized drafts for each journalist right in your Gmail or your Outlook. And the first sentence of each draft will be that personalized, beautiful, customized intro that would have taken 5, 10, 20 minutes for each journalist, and Propel does it automatically for you. And we save it as drafts so that you can still go in, double check it, read it, make it your own, add any edits that you want, etc. We're really short on time, so I'm just going to jump real quickly to our monitoring, actually. So here you're able to set up alerts. You're able to track the coverage for any brand. We go back about 18 months, and you're able to have all kinds of reports like volume over time. You're also able to see share of voice if you want to compare to the competition. And you're able to set up all kinds of alerts for online and print, also some other types like social and broadcast. You can set up email reports and all kinds of advanced monitoring features. And lastly, the analyze section of Propel, which is one of our customers' favorite. And here is really where you come in and you start getting these amazing insights about where the effort is going, where the results are coming in, and which accounts and clients and campaigns are being most effective. Also, same idea for the team. Which team members are outperforming, which team members need coaching. And that is essentially Propel in a nutshell. So I want to go back to the webinar deck over here and share our contact info just before we open up for questions. So we are here to help you set up your free trial. You can set it up on your own at our site, propelmypr.com. click on pricing, and you can get started right away. Our CS team is incredibly responsive, and we are here for you from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday. We have a 1 hour response time. So we really pride ourselves on that. And now with a few minutes left, I want to open it up for questions. And I'd love to take any questions from the audience. So I see that we have a few. So let's get into it. Jordan asked, can we upload our latest reports to the tool as a library? That way the AI can pull from it when crafting a pitch, social release, etc. So Jordan, the answer to that is certain things can be uploaded, like previous articles published can be uploaded into our story funnel, and so on. And so we can get into more specifics and take that offline to have a more specific conversation with you about what exactly you want to upload in terms of reports. So Jordan, just reach out to us and we'll get that set up. And also, if you drop your email into the chat privately, we can have someone from our CS team reach out to you. Okay. Next question. How can the AI tool track changes in journalists' interests over time and factor those changes into a pitch? Really good question. So this is what we pride ourselves on, is that it's constantly updating, like on a daily, on an hourly basis. Like as the new articles come in for each journalist, it's updating. As new pitches are being sent to the journalists and they're engaging with those, it's updating. And so the power of AI is really how well you train the model. And so it's all about continuous training, continuous improvement, continuous feedback. And so hope that answers your question. Next question. Is the tool open source or is it made with a secure API? Propel is not open source. So Propel is a secure SaaS product. We don't have public APIs. You can sign up and use our SaaS tool. You can do a free trial. You can pay for your subscription if you want right away. But essentially, it is a software as a service tool that you can subscribe to. So let me see if there are any other questions. I think we may have one in the chat. Jordan put his email in. So Sonia, let's just make sure that we keep track of that. And oh, yes, her email. And I want to thank everyone again for joining today. It was really enjoyable to have you. It was a fun webinar. We had a lot of people joining from all over the world. And we actually do these webinars monthly. So we will be sending you an invite to our next webinar. We have a fantastic guest, one of the real luminaries of the industry. Not going to spoil the surprise now, but you will see it in your email. Keep your eyes peeled. And I encourage you to go to propelmypr.com, try it out for free, no obligation. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you, everyone, for joining. It was great to see you today, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks again.